Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be going over my Magnate deck tech for the color green of set 1 of the Alpha Class TCG. After doing the set review of green 2 days ago, I believe, at the time of this recording, I wanted to kind of give you my thoughts on how I would build green in set 1 of Alpha Class, just to kind of give you a slight idea of how to do it as you're starting out in the game. And yeah, hopefully go from there. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you enjoy your stay. Feel free to check out my other videos. I do Alpha Clash videos as well as Flesh and Blood videos, and I try to have a good diversity of both games. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much. I really appreciate you as always. Everyone, feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below to find new ways to support the channel, as well as have access to a great community, both for Flesh and Blood and Alpha Clash. So we'll get right into it. Like I said, I did a set review of green 2 days ago on the channel when it came to kind of just evaluating cards. Nothing super in-depth and nothing super concrete. Obviously, everyone's still figuring out what cards work and what cards don't. But I wanted to give you a deck that hopefully will give you a decent rudder steer into green as a whole. And I'm also going to be putting out, I think, after doing 2 decks, I realized I probably should put out like what I consider deck building principles in Alpha Clash so far, at least stuff that I've learned from my play that's really useful, and I'll be able to do that as well. So we'll get into Magnate. For anyone that's not aware, Magnate has the 2 abilities. At 30 health at the start of the game, he says Alpha Clash cards get basically +1 defense. 0 +1. It is 1 +1 defense. And once he reaches the 10 threshold or lower, once per turn during your primary phase, you may engage this card. If you do, target opponent discards 1 card. So super powerful ability. Being able to get late game advantage on your opponent, especially in situations where both you might be top decking or only have 1 or 2 cards in hand, he really can hurt his opponent late game and gain the advantage. So what Magnate's all about, in a nutshell, right, in a typical build, is he's just trying to put down big clash cards that are hard to deal with. That +1 defense goes a long way, especially in the early game, which is honestly where most people develop board state. Normally in a normal deck, a Magnate Cunning Planner would just be a 1/1/1 drop that says when it's defeated, it draws a card. But in Magnate, it's a 1/2, right? Sonoro, who's normally a 2/1/1 drop, in any other deck, is going to be a 2/2/1 drop in Magnate because it's an Alpha Clash card and gets that +1 defense. So super, as you can see, consistent theme where like a Menacing Magnate at a 2-drop is a 2/2. We have another 1-drop T-Bone at blue, which is going to be a 2/2, so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of different ways you can build Magnate. My basic way is I want to have cards that always are going to have slightly better value than my opponents, and it makes it harder for my opponent to trade and keep consistent board state with me. There's not a lot of traps in the deck. Actually, I don't think there's any in the main board. Yeah, none in the main board. I have 3. Sorry, 3 in the main board, but the rest are in the sideboard for ones you can think about. I think Magnate will do best in splashing into blue and red because of the alpha synergy with Twerk's cards as well as Mean Streak. I choose blue because I think it has a little bit better synergy. But honestly, you could probably even do white with Magnate. You won't get the +1 buff on a lot of the cards, but it gives you more defensive options throughout his play. But I ended up choosing blue. I like the T-Bone cards because they are really high value for the resources they cost with Magnate's +1 defense. T-Bone, Terrence T-Bone Bernard is a 2/2/1 drop, and then T-Bone Powers Unlocked is a 5/5 4-drop, which is really powerful. And we'll talk about Mean Streak intercepting here. It's kind of like my tech card or my spice, if you will, for the deck. So first thing we'll talk about is early game. Early game, what you're trying to do is just outvalue your opponent with better static cards that are harder to deal with their 1-drops. Most other decks' 1-drops are going to be 1/1s and 2/2s. Magnate's 1-drops always have better defense. Magnate Cunning Planner is going to come in at 1/2, like we said. Sonoro is going to be a 2/2. Menacing Magnate's going to be a 2/2. This T-Bone is going to be a 2/2, so on and so forth. Even this Mean Streak Intercepting will be a 3/4. Makes it very hard to deal with. Then what you're trying to do is in the late game, use Kagan, best card in the game, at a 5/6 flyer that also removes one of their cards. You're also trying to use cards like Sonoro, the Awakened Breaker, which says trigger attack. This card gets 1/1 until end of turn. You may draw a card, which is really good. If your contender is green alpha, which is Magnate, you may ready a clash card you control with an initial resource cost of 1 or less. So being able to attack with, like, when you give your cards flight with cards like New York City, maybe you attack with Magnate Cunning Planner for 1, and it gets the +2 buff, right, from New York City, so it attacks for 3 with flight. Your opponent doesn't block it. You then, pay 5 resources, put down Sonoro, attack it, attack with it. Sonoro gets the +2 buff from New York City, coming in for 6/4 with flight. Then you re-ready Magnate Cunning Planner, and now you have a blocker that you can use on your other turn. So really, really powerful there. You're also using other cards like T-Bone Powers Unlocked as a 5/5. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use these late game cards in Kagan and Sonoro to really turn the tides and gain a lot of card advantage, even using cards like Magnate the Tyrant. And then some of your late game stuff is using cards like New York City. So a lot of your cards have flight, right? Menacing Magnate has flight. Magnate the Tyrant has flight. But what you're really trying to use, I don't use the 8-drop Magnate Undisputed, which some people might hit me for, and I don't use the 5-drop Magnate, which both have flight, because I'm just playing around Kagan, to be completely honest. But what I want to do is put down New York City to give cards like Sonoro, +2 offense and flight. So it's coming in at 4/2 with flight. This 5-drop Sonoro will be coming in at 6/4 with flight, right? And you're just able to overwhelm your opponent. Even these T-Bones will be coming in at 7/5. This T-Bone right here is a 5/5 normally at 4-drop, which is insane value. When you put New York City with it, it's now a 7/5 with flight at a 4-drop, which is insanely powerful. So I'm trying to outvalue my opponent, put down New York City, and then overwhelm them with some of my late game pieces that pretty much OTK them if it semi-OTK them if it does it correctly. Another cool tech piece I have in here, so I am splashing blue. I have 12 blue cards. Most of my splash and I'll talk about this in my deck building principles, I usually splash about 12 to 15 cards. Even if you look at like Dagan White's list, which I still have pulled up here, he splashed in green, and let's see, he has 4, 8, 10. He actually has a lot. 14, 18. He actually has more green than anybody that I've seen, but he has like 18 to 20, which is like the highest I've seen. I personally like doing 12 to 15 in cards that like index that aren't clarity. You can go higher than that, but I just chose 12 here just to keep it simple. The T-Bones are good value. I like Mean Streak Intercepting. If I can put 2 T-Bones down early and then put down Mean Streak Intercepting, I like this for its consistency and draw power. So it has an interception. It can block things with flight. Because of Magnate's ability, it's going to come in at 3/4. And it says trigger enter, put a streak counter on this card, which is kind of irrelevant for you in this situation. But it says once per turn during your primary phase, you may pay 2 blue resources. If you do, put a streak counter on target class card you control, then draw 1 card. The only reason I run this is it's a 3/4 blocker. I don't have any other 3-drops in the deck, so it kind of like fills that mid 3-drop gap. And it also allows me to consistently draw a card. If I can put 2 T-Bones down early or 2 of any blue down early and then have this card, I just use those 2 resources to always draw a card. And when you combine this draw a card mechanic with Sonoro's draw a card, with Magnate Cunning Planner's draw a card, you actually can make up for what I feel like is the weakness with green, which is consistent draw power. I know I said this in my last video. There actually is more cards in green that you would think that draw, like Amazon Rainforest and such. But the draw's a little bit less useful, if that makes sense. Like, it's just not as consistent when you need it as it is in other colors. That's just my opinion. So this is a good way. One, it's a good 3/4 defense option in the mid game, and it also is a consistent draw mechanic. It's just a draw engine throughout the rest of the game that I think is really, really good. Then we have Power Overflowing, and finally Magnate's Trap. I put 3 Magnate's Traps in here because I had 3 slots left. I feel like it's really good. Send target attacking clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less, and then your opponent also discards a card. I put this in because of Torque. I think Torque, once this game gets bigger, more people play it, Torque's going to be the deck that everybody wants to play. It's the fun combo boom deck, and using Torque the Uncontrollable to really, affect your opponent and do that combo. This takes out Torque the Uncontrollables, right? It just absolutely kills them, and they discard a card, which is super good for your card advantage. In the sideboard, I don't have like a set sideboard. These are just options to think about. Cards like Destructive Arrival, Magnate's Plan, Magnate's Trap, all really, really good cards. Tech options against accessory-driven decks, tech options against decks that are lower the ground and trying to just race you. really, really good for that. I am a little bit high on clash cards. Originally, I thought 26 to 30 clash cards is where you wanted to be. I still think that on a baseline deck, but this Magnate's all about putting down big clash cards that overwhelm your opponent, so I want to stay consistent with that theme. There's a lot of ways you can take Magnate. I think you can run green-blue. I think you can run green-red. I think green-white works really well. I chose green-blue as a baseline option. Obviously, this deck is going to continue to evolve and change and, do different things with, and definitely take this deck in a different way. This is just my first crack at it early in the game, as I've been playing some paper games through webcam and stuff like that. This is where I would initially go with green. But yeah, hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you can take this deck, make it better, make it more efficient, and it gives you like a strong baseline for green. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you would change, what your differences is, maybe any experiences you've had in the game so far with green. Love to hear it. And yeah, if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to another creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. Let me know what you think of the list. Let me know what you would change, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.